And welcome, Redblurr gamers. This is the final round of BGO Open. It has been a month and a half nearly since the event, so pretty poor form on my end for not getting this out quicker. I will do much, much better when we get to RatCon. But yeah, Adeptus Mechanicus, haven't really played them before. I was against another one of the BGO local boys, so it's going to be a good laugh. We ran out of time at the end of the game and didn't quite get through all of the turns in the round. But yeah, scores were probably could have been a lot more lopsided my way had we finished off the game due to the models on the table that I had versus how many my opponent had, and the ability of CP and like cherry pick out for, or hopefully gain those. Those what's the word for it? Extra points through secondaries. But let's jump into it. So as you can see, guys, roster has not changed, will not change, did not change. The only change that will happen is another squad of Vesper Stingwings, which I've got to finish painting, and those videos will go up shortly. I'm currently injured thanks to cricket and home from work, which means I got to put my foot up and ice it, elevate it, rest it, while I do whatever I want, which will probably be a little bit of playing Diablo and playing some Warhammer. It's going to be great fun. But yeah, let's jump into it. To the next slide. As you can see, Mission L, Take and Hold, Search and Destroy was the setup. I was a defender. I went first. I felt confident with my deployment. I don't think I was clear enough with my opponent about the ability to fall back and shoot with basically all my crisis suits. And that caused a little bit of frustration and confusion on his part because he probably wouldn't have acted as rashly as he did, where I just fell back and blew robots off the face of the planet. I rolled hot as hell. I remembered midway through turn two that some of my units can actually re-roll wounds and hits, wounds and damage. So then I had to remember that how many dice had failed, because luckily I started putting them in separate piles. So the ones that had failed had to re-roll, which then added an extra, and then the damage got to re-roll all of that, meaning that I did push some of the damage a little bit further and basically was able to annihilate all of the robots quite sharply. Meaning when we got into turn four, there was not a lot of stuff left on the table for him. 3 units, maybe 4 tops, where I had, basically all of my big stuff still on there, all my crisis suits, broadsides. Like I could have moved around, possibly picked off enough victory points to be sitting on objectives. Maybe I was on 2 anyway, which would have given me another 10 VP in round 5. But pick up secondaries, you don't know what you're going to get, and I could have killed the rest of his unit to not allow him to score anything in turn 5 anyway. But yeah, let's jump into T1. T1, I drew engage on all fronts and overwhelming force. Only managed to score 2 points on the engage on all fronts. Overwhelming force, I sacked for a CP. My opponent drew Bring It Down and Area Denial and scored 2 out of 9. He got the small area denial and managed to kill a vehicle across the suit. But yeah, I was actually my piranha. That was the end of T1. It was super quick. We got through it. It was a lot of movement from him. I castled up and didn't really move a huge deal. Yeah. T2, as we look at it, I picked up 10 points on Take and Hold, and my opponent did as well. I managed to score Established Locusts and extend battle lines, thanks to the ability to pick up my Vesper Stingwing and put them wherever the hell I wanted. I put them in his deployment zone using rapid ingress. And yeah, allowed myself to pick up 18 victory points, which, turned my end of turn, made it 2021. I definitely made a big jump in the VP there, the victory points. My opponent drew his defense stronghold, which he held on to and taken prisoners, which he killed a unit. In doing so, gained that and scored 10 for taken hold. Turn 3, which we will jump into, is where it got pretty hairy. My ability to fall back and shoot, the fact that I rolled really well on saves in turn 2 when I was charged with all of the robots, kind of made things a little hard for my opponent. I definitely got rid of a lot of stuff. As you can see in the bottom photo, that's all the robots that are dead, and the only one that's left on the table is in front of me. I just moved back, shot it to shit, continued on. I scored another 10 victory points from primaries before my opponent scored 5. I got 4 points for bring it down. I held on to area denial because I knew I would score it in T4, given that I'd done so much damage. My opponent managed to score 3 out of 5 points on recover assets and sacked cleanse for a CP. This video is going to be super short because there wasn't a huge amount of stuff to talk about. It was just back and forth. Units were moved. I fell back and shot and just blew stuff up. I remembered to re-roll my wound rolls. My stealth suits were in places where they were alive. They lived miraculously. The things that had invulnerable saves hit their invulnerable saves. Then if they failed one, the damage was minimal. It was just a really lucky game for me. So we jumped into T4 and picked up Air Denial, picked up Marked for Death, and got 10 more victory points for Taken Hold. My opponent managed to pick up Taken Hold for 10 points. But as I said, we run out of time. We spoke through his turn. He just ran away from what I was doing because I had control of a lot of stuff. He didn't want to have his units, the last couple of units destroyed. I got real unlucky. As you can see there's a commander with 1 wound on his home objective, which I almost managed to kill with Vespid. Vespid did a lot of damage to him. Just unluckily, I failed a couple of rolls. I probably should have used CP reroll here or there because their guns are 2 damage at neg 2 and with no invulnerable saves. I could have gotten another hit off or reroll, maybe been able to reroll another wound and just that extra 2 damage would have killed him and would have given me 3 and made it super hard for, I would have, another 5 points. Would have been 69, 49. But yeah, there was a lot of time, struggling between what we were doing and what was happening. I feel sorry for Nick because we didn't get a chance to get through the full game properly. Bit of it was me, bit of it was him. There was a bit of confusion on some stuff. There was a lot of thinking and talking. But yeah, against Admec, I hadn't played before, I think, from memory. So to be able to come away with a win and finish the tournament 2-3 was pretty good. If we jump into T5, which you can see at this stage, like I have gone through and played with scores, gone off what was a possibility, and that's the possibility of what was actually could have happened for the result. It could have looked something like that, 81-54. Could have been further my way, could have been. But yeah, look, final scores including paint, 64-49. Really had a good final day of final 2 games. For future reference, I've got to make sure that I alert my teammate or opponent that I can fall back and shoot, make sure he knows that. As I said, Nick said it was a little bit of a thing for him where he probably wouldn't have been as aggressive with his charging. But yeah, look, I may have made a boo-boo there with some of the information than what's actually on there. But again, learning profiles, finished 2-3 from my tournament. I need practice games in again before RatCon, which is less than a month away. But I will do my best to get all the photos required, so that I've got all the photos for every round. 10 photos total, maybe more pre-game, end of pre-game, T2, T1, end of T1, end of start of T2. I'll attempt to, well, they ask the when you jump into T2 and the start of Thingo, and I'll make sure I get some end of game ones at the end of T5 to see what happens and try and make sure I've got at least 10 photos, which would be 2 for one of each side of the board, basically splitting it in half, just so everyone can see what happens. But yeah, that is the final round of BGO Open. Hoping to do something similar, if not get a little bit better for RatCon. Maybe I get lucky and I go 3-2. Would be happy with another 2-3, as it gives me an idea of exactly where I'm at and what this army can do. 3-2 would be optimal, as that is, as I said, that really gives me a pump up and makes me feel like I'm quite capable of winning stuff. So, future tournaments, I'm going to have a look and see what's around. I would probably really like to get to a few more next year rather than just the 2. But I've got to plan and see what's out and about and make sure I can get to them. But yeah, as for that is all from me, and we'll see you soon with a few other videos that will go up on the channel. But yeah, bye for now.